Okay, so thank you for joining on a Friday afternoon. This is part two of the Financial Services Study Abroad series. And today's session is going to be focusing on um, risk management related to insurance requests and processes related to study abroad. Also, there's going to be information related to vendor partnerships, as well as travel. So this is just the overview of the four-part series. We've already done part one, laying the groundwork. We're here with navigating risk. And then over the next few weeks, we also have the mastering payments and wrapping up after a program has concluded. So please definitely join us for those, whether in person or Zoom again. Be on the lookout and please register. And first, we're going to start today with Alex Rosales, who's going to present from contracts and procurement.
Thank you, Sherry. Hi, team. How are you guys? As Sherry mentioned, thank you for taking the time and energy to join us. If you join us on Tuesday, you'll notice that we switched the format a little bit. For today, purchasing and procurement is going first. So I'll be talking about our role and how we help with vendor partnership. Next slide, please. All right, so why are we here? As we mentioned earlier, we're here because IRA funding transitioned to stateside. With that being said, it created for larger study abroad groups that led into higher value and more complex international programs/agreements associated with the travel, and increase in university funding also provided greater investment in study abroad and requires the programs to be more robust and have oversight and accountability. Another major component of this is the P2P CSU buy rollout or implementation. So procurement to pay is going to be another platform that's going to come in January, and this is going to initiate more interaction with our office. The other one is compliance with California law. There are certain guidelines in procurement and public contract codes that we must adhere to when processing service orders or agreements related to your program. So this is why we're here. All right, so why involve CMP early? And I know I went right onto the brass tacks of the product of what we're presenting here, but just to liven the atmosphere a little bit here, I did have an additional dad joke that I was going to throw to you guys. Since this is a study abroad, I wanted to ask anyone here, do you know what a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common? Does anyone know what a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common? Okay, I take it you don't, so I'll give you the answer. They are both Paris sites. Yeah, yeah. All right. All right, good. So that gets the mood going. That makes it easier for me because the complex things that I request of you guys is I can only gather when you guys working collaboratively with us. All right, so contracts that are less than $50,000. Competitive bidding is not required, but an informal solicitation is highly recommended. And I'm going to read through the slides, but I have a caveat with this. Our thresholds were recently increased, so it's going to make your lives a lot easier, I believe. However, it doesn't take away from us as a system looking at a formal request for proposal, as I'll talk later on in the slides. So contracts between 500 and 50 and 100,000 would require 3 informal quotes. This is also known as the request for quotation. And the process is a lot faster than a formal request for proposal. It could take 3 to 4 weeks. Where's that coming from?
Are you okay, Alex?
I don't know if that's me or who was that.
I don't know. Is
Okay,
there a sound?
I think it's gone.
Okay.
Okay. So contracts between 100,000 and 500,000 is where the formal request for solicitation would have come into play. And this formal request for proposals require a minimum of 10 days to be advertised. In other words, I publicly advertise this proposal and we let subject matter experts in the field come in and provide their proposals. This process could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months, and it's more in depth and more in detail. We'll get to that in the other slides. Next, please. So why, how does CMP safeguard the university's interest? Well, one of us, the main things is we're here to ensure compliance is met with our contracts and agreements. Most of the directives and policies for the study abroad international agreements come from Code of Memorandum AA 2007-25, also the Executive Order 0605 and the Executive Order 0744. We make sure that we're in compliance with that. Contracts and procurement also negotiates with the vendors on your behalf. Some of that will be done through the formal RFP process or the informal request for quotation. We're part there. We're your partners to get us engaged if you want us to negotiate T's and C's, caveats, or special clauses or contractual obligations with the vendor. We're also there to mitigate risk. We work closely with Stephanie and Michael Coughlin in risk management to ensure that we have all the right language in the documentations, ensuring that we have legal compliance, ensuring that we provide all the best methods to take care of the university and protect the university and our students as we're traveling abroad. Next, please. So request for quotation. Again, this is POs that are between 50 to 100,000. The thresholds will be moving on that, but the rules will still be the same. You require 3 additional quotes if you're going down this path. In other words, a quick example: if you have, for example, WorldStride as one of your proposers or who you're going with in this particular trip, in this scenario, we would require 2 additional quotes outside of WorldStride to satisfy the bidding requirements of that acquisition. Once you use the RFQ, again, when the purchases are between 50 and 100K, when the products or service are specified and well-defined, you could use a request for quotation. When a competitive or simplified and expedited process is needed as well, when formal solicitation is not required, but most comparison is necessary. I'm sorry, with cost comparison is necessary. RFQs do help promote competition, cost savings, and efficiency in public procurement while maintaining compliance with regulations. One of the key points to this, guys, is that if you let a supplier or a partner or a vendor get comfortable with what they're providing you over the years, they're not going to sharpen their pencil. This process right here enables them to know that we're doing our due diligence and for them to sharpen their pencil and give you their best proposal or cost moving forward. Next. So what are the timelines for a bidding and informal bidding? As we were talking earlier, and it's best that you get us involved early, right? The minute you start to discuss the services for a specific, trip, when the outline of scope of work and discuss guidelines, you could get us involved to review documentation requirements. That way we could be involved early on and let you know what are all the requirements that you should be asking or some of the submittals that the partners need to be completing. Between the 12 and 18 months, the service providers are identified. You meet with us and we meet with Sage as well to ensure that all the requirements for the program are met in the request for proposal that we're doing. And then we could discuss any issues or concerns before the contract negotiation takes place. At the 12-month period, we're thinking that at that point, we are ready to finalize negotiations. Sage initiates the agreement for routing. Purchasing does have a part in that process, so we're part of their workflow. So we know when your agreements are being finalized for signatures from the provost or the president. This will be a faculty-led and department. This is where you initiate the requisitions and get it early as soon as possible, and you'll work with contracts and procurement. Next, please. This is the one that gets more complex, and I'm not going to go into every detail of this component, but basically the request for proposal is when agreements or contracts are going over the $100,000 threshold. We've seen a lot of that lately just because of the number of trips happening and the number of providers that are taking place. So if we go down the path of a formal request for proposal, we would be advertising this in the FISCAL website, and it gets advertised to everyone out there. So all the proposers, campus partners, providers would get to see this proposal being put on the street. It is evaluated based on value, not just the lowest price. So this protects you guys because we'll have different criteria and different weighted points on work plan methodology and what they could do best for you as a service provider. It is used for goods, services, IT-related goods, and IT services. If you're doing anything over $1 million that has IT, it must go to the Chancellor's Office for a feasibility review. When to use the RFP. You'll be using this when they're over 100,000, and we'll get involved with you. We're making plans, and we're going to potentially have future meetings on to discuss an overall umbrella of an RFP to encompass everyone's requests in this program. So we're trying to find ways to make this easier for you and help us be in compliant with system requirements as well. An RFP definitely ensures to maintain transparency, that we've done the competitive selection, it complies with policy, and it's also the best value for public agencies when it comes to complex procurement processes. And it also shows that we're good steward of state monies. Next. Okay, the timeline for an RFP, as I mentioned earlier, it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. My advice to you is get us involved early. The minute you know that you have a complex travel or requirement that includes lodging, airfare, or all kinds of logistical support, get us involved, because most likely those service orders are going to be over the $100,000 threshold. Next, please. So when we're at the stage where you're getting ready to submit the requisition, we ask for you to submit that, and pretty soon it's going to be in CSU BUY P2P, procurement to pay. You'll be submitting the requisition. When you initiate that request, we ask you to include all the documentations that ensure that we went through proper compliance, the authorizations are there, and budget availability has been adhered to. Once you initiate this, it is approved by a department and processed by CMP. So your fiscal resource managers most likely will be approving your requisition, and it gets sent over to us. I didn't include a copy of the requisition just because we're switching from PeopleSoft to P2P, so I didn't want to confuse people. But on the next slide, please, you'll see an actual purchase order. So this PO is derived from the requisition you submit, whether it be in PeopleSoft or in P2P. We capture all the pertinent information, the business strip, the description of what's happening. We have the point of contacts and you notice right there on the third line where it says prices, terms, and conditions shall be in accordance with agreement C25. That's most likely your international agreement that has been routed and approved and signed off. So when we see that, we like to include this in here. But in this particular scenario, this PO was over $100,000. So this would have been a candidate for a formal request for proposal. And if you would have worked with us, we would have done the due diligence and provided, the guidance for that. This is a standardized way of keeping track and accounting for purchases made within the department, division, and university. So again, this is how we track the aggregate spend with any given vendor or any given department ID. This is gathered from this information right here. So just note, the conversion from a requisition to a purchase order will not take place until the fully signed executed agreement is obtained. Deposits will be initiated through this process. So that's an important note. Remember, we shouldn't be putting the cart before the horse. We want to make sure that everything has been, vetted, dotted, and crossed out, so that when we issue our POs, we are in compliance with our requirements. So we'll be working with you closely on that information. Next. All right. We're almost at the end here. I'm providing a copy of all the important links that I think will be helpful to you. Every single one of these links takes you to our either website or frequently asked questions or any other information that I think is going to be helpful to you. And we'll have additional information coming to you regarding P2P as well. Next. All right, here's our contact information. I know that you probably have a lot of questions, but what I want you to take out of this presentation, out of anything, is do not be afraid to get us involved early on, whether it be to an email to the DL website. If you're asking about a vendor or just have questions about an agreement, get us involved. We'll give you our guidance, we'll provide our services, and help our students and serve our students, because that's, at the end of the day, that's our number one customers. Our students are who are beneficiary of all you guys' hard work and our services here. And I think that's all I have. Awesome. If there's not any questions for CMP, let us know. I have Christian, Jose, or KB here, who helps me, and also Nikki, who will be able to answer any questions you might have related to CMP or e-business or P-card related.
Okay, just for time reasons, we're going to go ahead and go to the next one, which is myself. My name is Stephanie Colquitt. I work in risk management. So we're going to talk more about international travel insurance. So why is the international travel insurance important? It's our main reason for, making sure that this is in place is for the traveler's safety. It is our top priority. Your safety and well-being is the primary concern. And then it's not just for study abroad, but it could be for conferences, it could be research or recruiting. Whenever a CSU staff, faculty, volunteer, or student go to an international trip, they are required to have the coverage that is provided through the university, and it just makes sure that the coverage is in place, that it helps a little bit more if it's through us, because then we know the vendor already, we know how to do the process. And so we just want to make sure that that is in place before you leave. The two things that I like to talk about before we kind of get into the actual insurance, and there's specific reasons why I always touch on these 2 points. We need to make sure that we're getting the planning and approval done before we start the process. So we need to make sure that we're coordinating with the department, discussing the purpose, itinerary, duration, making sure that it aligns with the university's objectives, and making sure that we have that departmental support. And the one reason I bring this part up is because I've actually been in a situation where I had a traveler that was leaving like the next day, and I was like, hey, your TR still has not been approved. Let's work on that to get it done. And the TR got to the last person, and I think it was the dean, was like, I'm not going to pay for this trip. I'm not going to approve this travel. And so the person who was supposed to leave the next day was not able to go on the trip because they didn't get all of that kind of squared away before they started or before they planned and started requesting that trip. So we just need to make sure that we are coordinating with our department. And then I also want to cover the responsibilities. While some departments and colleges have travel coordinators or staff who assist with travel and insurance submission, it is ultimately the traveler's responsibility to ensure that all requirement requests, and that includes the travel insurance and travel requests inside or outside concur. It is the traveler's responsibility to make sure it's submitted on time, complete, and accurate. So the other reason I bring this up is I've had a traveler come to me after their trip, and I was consulting with them, and they said, well, it's not my fault that the information is wrong. So and so filled it out for me. My response to that is, well, are you not the one who hit the submit button? You should be verifying your information before we hit submit to make sure that this process is being done correctly and within a timely manner. So the travel assistant services that are available 24/7 is medical provider referrals, education and support, lost or stolen documents, interpreters, legal bail. Let's not use that one, please, but that is available. Emergency cash advance and security or political evacuation support. So that is really important, especially nowadays with the climate that we're in, is if someone does not start, or if someone starts to get nervous or kind of uncomfortable in a situation, they are able to reach out to either risk management or the insurance vendor to see what they can do, or if there's anything that they need to do. So the coverage highlights is medical emergency benefits, it's general liability. So contingent auto liability, we'll get into that a little bit later, but accidental death and dismemberment, employee benefits liability, medical evacuation, reunion benefits, security evacuation, like I discussed with the political stuff. And then trip protection. So if the trip is canceled outside of your control or interrupted or delayed, the insurance can also help with that. So let's go ahead and jump into applying for the coverage. So we're going to first we're going to try and get into the system first. All of these links are live. I try and make sure I give as many resources as possible. So we're going to go to the HRE website, to the risk management department, and then the travel area of the risk management department. As you can see right here, it is so I don't know if you can see my mouse, but this is the travel database. So as soon as you click on that foreign travel database, it is going to go into the into this login right here. So with that, please use your CSUF credentials, not your email address to sign in. And then as soon as you are signed in, it's actually going to show a list of travel that you have already submitted for before the date. But so that's what the list is down here. And then off to the right, we're going to select new form. So after the new form is selected and brought up, we're going to fill out the traveler's information, full name, affiliation with the university, contact information, emergency contact. We just need to make sure we are verifying accuracy. So if any of the required fields are not completed, including this one down here, are you adding additional non-CSUF travelers? If those are not filled or not, it doesn't have the no in this bottom part. When you try to submit the request, it's going to show an error message, and then you're going to have to start all over. So we just want to make sure that we are completing this as much as possible and making sure that we have each field complete and has as much information as possible. So now we're going to, if you are going to have a non-CSUF traveler, which can be a spouse, domestic partner, or child of the CSUF faculty or staff. So that does not include the students, that does not include some of the other individuals that might be going on these trips. It's only for the CSUF faculty or staff. So if it is a child that will be accompanying you or the traveler, we just need to make sure that we include their age, because I do need that information. It is acceptable to have more than one non-CSUF traveler. Just be aware that the individual that is representing the university will receive an invoice for those premiums for the non-CSUF travelers, which can vary for how many people. So just keep that in mind. All non-CSUF travelers need to sign a liability waiver before the trip. And then we just need to make sure that when we are putting the information in this section that we hit the add button, because if you don't hit the add button after completing this information, it's not going to put the that information on your submission. So if you miss the add button, I'm not going to know that this person will be accompanying you. So we just have to make sure we're doing that. All right, the destination details. Okay, so this is kind of a tricky part for some people, but the example destination chart is kind of a good way that I explain it on a regular basis. Is we just need to make sure that all the travel locations and dates are listed, even if it's a layover. I understand that some people are like, I don't even know what the layover is going to be yet. I understand. Let's just put as much potential information on the request to try and get your TR approved so that we can, and then if any adjustments need to be made, we can do that afterwards. So we just, any travel days from the US, to or from the US are going to be considered, are not considered personal days. Those are business days. And as a rule of thumb, if you will be setting foot in the location, please include it on your request. And then we just need to make sure that the numbers of destinations at the match the number of entries. If it doesn't, it will create an error message and it will not let you submit. So there is no restriction to the number of personal travel days for a CSUF faculty or staff member, but however, the university's foreign travel insurance only covers up to 14 personal travel days during the trip. Now, given this limitation, we advise the traveler to explore options for additional coverage to secure insurance at their own expense if it is over that allotted time. If a traveler's trip includes personal travel that extends the total duration of the trip that causes the travel time period to fall into a higher insurance premium bracket, we will be issuing an invoice for the difference. So if I'm only traveling for 14 days for business, but then I add the additional 3 days, we understand, take the opportunity to do a little small vacation or something. We do understand that. But if it is going to get it from that 1 to 15 day bracket and it goes into the 15 to 30 day bracket, the difference I think is only like $20, but that will be invoiced to the CSUF traveler. So now with going on to the destinations, There are some destinations that risk management will have to conduct risk assessments to obtain approvals for travel to destinations that CIRMA and the U.S. Travel Advisory has deemed as a high hazard, war risk, or level 3 and 4 country due to significant safety concerns associated with those destinations, which significantly extends the approval process. So those locations are indicated when you start to fill out the destination countries. Those are going to be, those high risk areas are going to be indicated by some asterisks. So if you know that, you know, some people are able to just kind of know because they, you know, travel very often, then please get it into us as soon as possible, because if you don't get this in, then the TR is not going to be approved and then I can't find the insurance. So the sooner the better. If you have any questions about the list of these locations, you can just ask me for them. I usually just Google it. You can Google the US travel advisories. That is a public website. And then the CIRMA, CSURMA high hazard locations. That is also available online. All right. Okay, so the additional information that we need that's at the bottom of the form is the purpose of travel, whether locals will be hired, if there will, such as translators, tour guides, such as that. I will need to know the purpose of why we're hiring the locals and the time frame. Also, we need to know whether you will be renting a vehicle internationally. We need everybody to be aware that the traveler will have to purchase the auto coverage through the rental program or the rental company, because our international travel coverage is excess coverage. It's not the primary coverage for autos rentals. We also need to know the primary funding source, and then the option we do at the bottom have an option to upload supporting documentation, which is actually optional. I requested this to be put on there primarily to upload those waivers that the non-CSUF travelers are required to sign, just so we can have it attached to the trip. You've already been through this, like, let's go ahead and do this. And so it just makes the time frame to get all of the individuals bound and get what they need. So if you do select other for the purpose of travel or the primary funding, a description will be required. Another window pops up asking for additional information. We do need to know that information to make sure we are invoicing the correct department, or we are telling the insurance company the reason for travel is something different than what it normally is. Excuse me. So after you hit the submit button down at the bottom, you will receive an email that looks like this. This email is just confirmation that you have requested the insurance. This at the top of the email, it says attach or upload this email to your university request to travel form to show that proof of foreign travel insurance has been requested. So this is the specific document that I know some people get a little frustrated with. I print to PDF a lot of times these documents, but you have to have this attached to your TR, from my understanding, to make sure it goes through the entire approval process instead of being kicked back to the user. Okie dokie. Oh, sorry. And then as soon as the insurance is bound, you will hear from me with some additional information, just kind of some just in case of emergency, along with the coverage information and your coverage card. If you do need to make any changes, you can reach out to me directly, or you can email the foreigntravel@fullerton.edu to request any edits. I try and be as responsive as possible to make sure that everybody's taken care of. And then having those documents in those email really helps so that I can track the information. So if we do need to look up anything for the traveler, that we have it all written down for reference information. So after the submission, like I said, you will be getting a confirmation email from myself. All right, the immediate steps to take in case of emergency, we highly suggest that you call the 800 number. They will help with either finding a doctor that can help you or making sure that the doctor that you already went to is paid in a timely manner, or reimbursement for anything that you've had to pay out of pocket. This is the information that you will need to provide to them. And then we also ask that any incidences be reported to John Beisner Risk Management. Okay, some quick tips. Just make sure that you're carrying your travel assist card, ID card at all times. That's going to have the 800 number you need. It's going to have the insurance coverage number, etc. It has everything that you need. So I would highly advise that you keep it on you at all time. We do have travel assist that might be changing soon, but it also will help with notifications and safety. We need to make sure that we're keeping all receipts. If your flight does get delayed or canceled and you have to come out of pocket for any of these expenses, make sure that you keep the receipts so that we can try and file a claim against the insurance. And then we just need to make sure that all incidences are reported to risk management and John Beisner. And then the last is, from my understanding, faculty staff participating in the study abroad will receive an emergency response and reporting manual from the study abroad team prior to departure. And I also believe there's an orientation involved with that. So, and then the last slide that I have is just some resources and contact information. I try to make sure that I'm available, but Teamsing me or emailing me is probably the easiest way to get in touch with me, because like, as you can see now, I'm usually either in a meeting or on the phone. So that is just the quickest way to get a hold of me, is through email or Teams. You can also go to the risk management website for additional resources. I do have a guide on how to apply for the request of insurance. I also use the travel operations page quite a bit for reference to the policy. And then any questions, I do try and help out as much as possible with Concur, but risk management can't always advise on what's the correct way to deal with that. So I also have the travel@fullerton.edu to try and help out. And now I'm going to turn it over to Joe.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us today. I'm just going to go over some quick basics on submitting a travel request in Concur. You want to start around the same time that you're doing your foreign travel insurance application. That's usually the best practice. So once you start your foreign travel insurance, go ahead and get your travel request going at the same time. You want to make sure that the travel dates
Oh,
and
Mitra was waiting for you.
somebody's up. Can we? There we go. Somebody talked on accident. That's okay. Travel dates and personal dates. You want to make sure that they match. They will reflect on the foreign travel insurance request. So, we know that our chain of approvers really like to see that they match up. And then of course, when you're doing a request, what you're doing really is adding your expected expenses and any documentation that your approvers need to see. So, next slide, please. So what I want to go over is the request itself. These are the details that you'll see on the request. That's some of the questions that would get asked of you. So this particular slide would help you fill out your request with ease. There's three main parts to a request, which is your header information. That's like the cover sheet of a report. And then the attachments, those are things that substantiate your request itself, plus the added expenses on the expense lines. And then of course the approval routing, which follows that list here, but I'll get to the top part, the header first. So for the request policy, it's going to ask you what policy do you want to use. It's referring to the system is referring to what set of technical rules are we supposed to follow of how it's programmed in the system. So that's why it says request policy. You want to pick state approved, then book. The next question will be request trip name. we do have a specific naming convention for request. It's going to be abbreviated month, 4-digit year, and then the destination. So in this example, I put June 2026, Paris, France. The next question is, how will you book your travel? Outside of Concur, if you're arranging with the tour group, which most people will, if you're booking anything within Concur, you want to use inside of Concur. But for our purposes here, most of the time you'll probably choose outside of Concur. There's a question that asks about if your hotel cost will exceed $333 per night. Generally, it probably won't pertain to you for study abroad, so the answer should be no, excludes taxes and international travel. So we're not, because it's international travel, so the answer is no. The trip type is going to be international. There's a question about personal travel combined with international business travel. That question has to do with some tax considerations, and the list that is in the drop down is the exceptions to what would make the airfare taxable. So Stephanie mentioned that insurance will only cover 14 days of personal travel. It's kind of like within the same line that if your personal travel is 25% or greater, then there's a taxable consideration on the airfare. So that's that. You want to answer as accurately as possible, but if you select any of those, then those are the exceptions for it to be taxable. So hopefully those exceptions do apply. Report trip and purpose. It's going to be study abroad. Event name or purpose. You want to type something that's towards the university mission. But what you'll notice is in that particular field, you're going to have 500 character limit. But I always suggest to use a 60 character limit because when you convert it to an expense report later down the line, which we will cover in a later module of this series, it only converts the first 60 characters. Sorry, there's a bug in front of me. And so kind of keep it short, and then if you have a long sort of statement for your business purpose, you want to add it in the comments of that header. And then there's another particular question that's sometimes hard to answer, regions traveling to. Most of the time you'll probably list other not listed. We have 2 other regions that are listed there, which is Chechnya and Northern Ireland. Those are supposed to be State Department warning lists countries, but I think it's not updated. You can put other not listed, and then as Stephanie mentioned, the CIRMA website really gives you more information on that. Really what that does is ensures that it gets to presidential approval, but as you can see in these steps, it already does go to presidential approval. And we'll kind of go through that in a second. For your attachments, the kinds of things that you want to attach are going to be whatever supporting documents that you have. The normal ones are sort of, if you're going to miss class, they like to see the class time form. They're going to want to see the foreign international insurance form attached as well. Any flight cost estimates that you may have could be added. For your expected expenses, you're going to definitely have the meals per diem. For the request portion, the meals per diem, it usually generally calculates the full amount minus your personal days. If that seems like a very large amount, there are some adjustments you can make, not all the time. Is if part of your agreement says that for sure meals are going to be covered, there's a certain amount that you could adjust, and the way to adjust an expense line would be to add a negative as a new expense line. And then add any other expected expenses such as car rentals, anything else that you might think of. And then for your approvals, generally the approval routing within travel is for travel requests specifically. There's always 2 parts of travel, the request and the expense portion. This first portion, it really stays within within your line of delegated authority plus plus risk management. So travel operations generally doesn't have a process in this first request portion. So it'll first go through your own department, DOA. So it's usually going to be the chair and then the dean. And then it will roll up to provost office. And then it will roll up to president's office. And then risk management will confirm the information as part of their insurance binding process. So that's a lot on this slide. So if you need to ever refer back to it, that's a good one to refer back to. Sorry, Stephanie. That's a good one to refer back to. And then if you need help, yeah, let's go forward one, please. And then if you need help, we're always here to help. So you can email travel@fullerton.edu. My information, Joseph Vu, Joe Vu at fullerton.edu. And then this link here will book me for my office hours. They're Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. generally. The caveat to that is like if I'm sick or sometimes I get booked for meetings already at that time, make sure you're either checking that link or just check my status on Outlook. I'm pretty up to date with those. So just check those in case if you do want to drop in, you want to make sure that I'm there. As long as I'm not booked, I should be there or not sick. And then if you have technical help questions or you're just experiencing something odd, technically concur@fullerton.edu can also assist you with those things. My main point is, and I know this whole thing is a lot of information, and this is really just the first portion of travel and of study abroad in general as a greater whole. So that's why it's being broken up into several pieces. And this isn't the whole piece, but always reach out to me or any one of us. Even if you had a travel question to Alex Rosales, he's gonna know to direct you over to the travel team or myself. So never feel like you can't ask a question, and as long as you get a hold of somebody, I know we're all sort of distracted all the time. If you get a hold of someone, they'll make sure they get a hold of the right person for you. I think that's it for me. And this is a survey link. If anyone can take this survey, that'd be great. That gives the financial services team some feedback on how we're doing on our trainings. I think now is a great time to open up for any questions. Go ahead and feel free to unmute yourself or you can use the chat.
Everyone, I'm Judelle. I had a few questions. My first question is if we wanted more information about a new vendor, who can questions about, oh, we want to go somewhere maybe new or different and we don't have a vendor for that place. Do you know who we can speak to about that?
Yeah, accounts payable does do the vendor setups. What you'll want to do first is engage the vendor a little bit to just get to know them a little, and maybe get a quote perhaps.
Oh,
The vendor.
That's-
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
I would
so-
say, yeah, Cherie might be, or the office, the Sage office
Yeah,
might be a good
that's
start
right.
to
Sorry.
recommend.
I'm giving a
Yeah.
general
And
supplier
yes,
information.
and we're
Ignore
working
what I said.
together. Yeah, no worry. We're all working together. We're
We're a
working.
team. We're a
Yeah,
team,
we're
Joe.
working with contracts and procurement to develop some tools that will help you with an initial communication with a potentially new vendor, so that you have something ready to give, like a link to a form or an attachment, so that it can be a smoother process, and exactly the kind of information that we need to provide to contracts and procurement.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because I remember there was a list from last week where it had oh, these are the highlighted vendors that give us the most information. So I don't know if y'all sent out already the PowerPoint or whatnot from last week and also from this week and from the series, but I was just curious to maybe see that so I can at least you know, for future ones, I can kind of start shopping around, I guess, if my current preferred vendor doesn't go to like a certain country, for example.
I think those presentations they're being prepared. I know that they're going through accessibility review to make sure that everything, the settings are all there and it's compliant.
Thank
But
you.
they will be posted, and I believe these recordings are going to be posted in Titan Training Hub, as well.
Thank you. And then I have two more questions about travel insurance. My first one is, do students also have to fill out that travel insurance form and do a concur? And then number two, is in that form that I know they have to go through Sage, that they have to complete through Sage, do they also let CSUF know whether they're going to be traveling before, after, whether they bring a family friend with them, and then do they also pay for that extra insurance? I'm just curious because I get all these questions all the time from students, and I don't know how to answer.
So the students unfortunately cannot get into the system. They do need a coordinator or you know, Sage's assistance to apply for the insurance. From my understanding, they do not go through Concur. They do everything is dealt with through Sage, and then because even when I have to do risk assessments for students, it's not through Concur, so they don't use that program. We do not support, unfortunately, student non-CSUF travelers. That's only faculty and staff.
Yeah, and just to add to what Stephanie shared, our office will process all of the student insurance requests to Stephanie, and she's great and super quick about responding and getting it bound. And as far as their authorization to travel, specifically thinking in terms of the faculty-led programs like yours, their travel is authorized under the fully approved program agreement. It's approved all the way up through the president's office to the chancellor's office, and it serves in a way as a blanket authorization for their travel, just so you know you have that.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Cherie. So students, if they do have a family that comes along, they don't pay that additional insurance, right? For that family members?
They will not go through us.
Oh, they will not. Okay. Okay.
The
Thank you.
the student does, but not the family
Right.
member.
Right. Thank you.
Anything else? I know I kind of skirted over how to put the personal time in the, I thought I was starting to run short on time. So I just wanted to reiterate that the destinations, even if you are going to be staying in the same locations, so at the bottom, if you know, are going to be in the United Kingdom for the business and personal travel, you still have to list it 2 times. Once for the business with the coordinating dates, and then once for the personal travel with the coordinating dates of that. Because we need to, it changes how the insurance, it doesn't change the insurance coverage. It just, there's a couple things that change when we start listing personal days.
I would like to add a little thing about booking flights, especially with the smaller groups when departments are booking their own flights. And it having to do with the insurance piece, I think it's best practice if you, when you're looking for a flight, I know you haven't purchased it yet, but kind of like do a 2-stage process, being that first stage is to look and select the flight that you might want specifically. And then you can always come back to that flight to actually book it. Because the flight itself generally doesn't change. So a lot of people sometimes are like, what do I put down for this section? I haven't even booked my flight. And that's a good point. Go ahead and look for the flight, because generally the airlines, they don't change their flight paths. So you could technically pick it, just not purchase it just quite yet.
I just came up with another question. So,
Sure.
so for example, for the concur, if the vendor, if in the program proposal, we already have the meals, we already have the flight, we already have all the accommodations paid for through our vendor. Obviously, we still need to do a concur, but then all we'll need to put in is our class coverage form and our foreign travel insurance, right?
You still want to add expected expenses, including the per diem. Now usually it does try to calculate, kind of the full amount as a baseline. And then what you want to do is add in another expense line, like it could be something else. And you could put in a negative amount to kind of offset what you think it's going to be. So you kind of want to add an offset expense line. I think when you get there, that's probably the best time to reach out to me. Because a lot of times that tends to be very specific to
Yeah.
The traveler. So I don't want to give too much more than that because it might be confusing or yeah.
Thank you. We've also been working with Jeff Randolph, and so he's been very helpful with that. And I
Oh,
know
yeah.
that he checks in with y'all as well for those things. So
Oh, all the
I
time.
was just
Yes.
curious. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. We have a question in the chat. Can faculty bring their parents? Anyone want to take that?
The only non-CSUF travelers that are approved through CIRMA is a domestic partner, a spouse, or a minor child. So if it's a child that is not a minor, that we won't be able to we won't be able to cover that individual. But those are the only 3 people that we are types of travelers that that CIRMA will cover.
And then from a university obligation standpoint, we also could not cover any reimbursement on that. But it wouldn't stop you, but they'd need to pretty much arrange their own travel.
And on the program side, this kind of goes back to Judel May's question about bringing family. The one stipulation that if students want to bring family along, that it be outside of the program dates. When the class isn't going on, so that the student is able to focus and